The Sega Dreamcast was the last console Sega would ever produce, marking the end of a decade-long campaign of console war violence against their arch-rival Nintendo. Many a playground scrap was had over whether Sonic could take Mario in a fight, with 90s kids also complicit in the hostilities. One of those kids was Cultaholic's own Sam Driver, who very kindly supplied me with the Dreamcast paraphernalia. It's kind of bright back there, I don't know if you can see it, that you see all around me, and he was just one of many Sega fans who were very disappointed when they withdrew from the console market in 2001. It was rising competition from rivals at Sony, Nintendo and Microsoft that forced their hand, with sales of the Dreamcast not up to par, but it was widely appreciated by both fans and critics to be ahead of its time, a home to the likes of Crazy Taxi, Jet Set Radio and Shenmue. So let's put a positive spin on this, shall we? The year is 1999, the country, the United States, and next week, Sega is launching a brand new next-gen console with 19 launch games for you to get stuck into. Shall we play them all? I think we should. Are you ready? Then let's do it. God, this opening video's a bit 90s, isn't it? Let's just skip that and get into the... it's another 90s cutscene, guys. Aero Wings is a flight simulator that, for the time, actually looks surprisingly good. There are missions where you're tasked with flying through floating rings and a free fly mode where you can fly freely. Mad, I know. The controls are very sensitive, which made it tricky when navigating at street level, you know, like all good pilots do, but it did allow me and the boys flying in formation to give this hospital a real show. And I think, one of them just crashed into the building there. It also features a wide range of locations, including city, island, valley, night city, base,
mince pies, mini mince pie.
And if you quit immediately after starting a flight, the replay has absolutely no idea what to do. Aero Wings received an average score of 74% from reviewers at Famitsu, IGN, and GameSpot, with the latter calling it a quality game. Oh boy, this is a boring opening crawl, eh? Set in the far-flung future of 2007, AirForce Delta, or Deadly Skies if you want to get European about this, is an aerial combat sim, essentially Aero Wings, but you can fire missiles and bullets and kill people, yeah, blood. The game's story has an absurdly in-depth narrative concerning ethnic tensions, religious debate, and the splitting apart of the Federated Republic of Zavila, I think. Which all sounds very serious until you successfully kill all your enemies and this music plays. Hooray! There's a greater sense of speed in AirForce Delta than in Aero Wings, and it controls well enough, but as with all flight combat sims, I often found myself fruitlessly chasing fighter jets that were chasing me, never really being able to see them for long enough to lock on with missiles, which is a necessity as regular gunfire is completely ineffective. 66% on game rankings. In 65 million BC, a big pebble wrecked everything, and now, in the wake of an earthquake, it's up to you in the year 2000 to visit Dinosaur Island. Sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
Hey Tim. What's up, Elliot?
I mean, that doesn't, but as a premise. Suddenly, a big explosion occurs and it does weird things to your friend's face. I promise I haven't edited this at all. Then a fairy angel thing spawns and Christ, it's all just so out there I can't keep up with any of it. Blue Stinger is an action survival horror game where you run around excruciatingly slowly and pick up key cards. There are lots of dead bodies, strange mutant things, and a fair bit of blood, but Jesus God, please, the voice acting is something else.
I don't know.
It looks really weird. While I can certainly appreciate Resident Evil wasn't much of a looker, its colour palette and art direction made it feel really spooky. Blue Stinger, on the other hand, looks like modders have removed all of that stuff. It's safe to say the game has not aged well at all, but it did receive decent reviews at the time, landing a 70% average on game rankings, with Next Gen saying even the lowest budgeted kung fu cheapie you can think of had better dubbing, but if you like an adventure with big explosions, this ain't too bad.
A woman?
Expendable is a top-down run-and-gun title which really feels like it should be a twin-stick shooter. Instead, you can either awkwardly spin around with your gun constantly firing, awkwardly face individual enemies while firing, or awkwardly face the rough direction of enemies and hold a trigger to strafe from side to side while firing. It all starts out quite promising too, with an opening cinematic that feels a lot like Abe's Odyssey. The general premise is that in order to combat an invading race of unnamed aliens, 2 super soldiers have been cloned to create an army. But none of that matters because you shoot aliens and explosive barrels to get more powerful guns to more effectively shoot aliens and explosive barrels. It's mindless fun, and you can play with a friend in co-op, allowing both of you to be deafened by the high score tally at the end of stages. But it didn't review overly well, achieving 62% on game rankings. Based on the Championship Auto Racing Teams, or CART, racing league, Flag to Flag is essentially a Formula 1 racing game that makes you wish you were playing a Formula 1 racing game. It doesn't look incredible either, and with practically no turning ability once you've hit decent speeds, I was extremely grateful for the basic curvature of most of the US courses. Weirdly, however, the vehicles were hypersensitive to turning at low speeds, meaning I was able to pull off many outrageous overtakes while travelling with just a fraction of my power. There's a championship mode where you can adjust the car's various parts to your specifications if you fancy yourself an expert, like I do, with my 2-gallon fuel tank, but you'll still be racing the same basic courses with little gameplay variation. Described as a competent kart title, but nothing beyond what you'd expect, Flag to Flag received 62% on game rankings. House of the Dead 2 has the worst voice acting I've ever heard in a video game, and I'm absolutely here for it.
I don't want to die!
A first-person light gun shooter originally gracing arcades the world over, the game received a Dreamcast port a year after release, and it translates surprisingly well. For a start, instead of aiming with a plastic firearm, you move the aiming reticule with your thumbstick, and I can honestly say I had more joy with accuracy via this control scheme than I ever did in the arcades, although that probably says more about my shooting ability. Another thing that's nice is that you can continue playing without having to slide another pound coin into a machine, meaning you can actually make decent progress without bankrupting yourself. Sadly though, there are definitely still sections where it feels like you must take damage, as with the various boss battles. It's campy and ridiculous.
How do you know that?
But your path through levels does diverge based on NPCs you're able to save, allowing for some replayability too.
James, go and prevent the confusion in the city.
House of the Dead 2 earned 77% on game rankings and also gave us this clip, which is worth all of the awards.
I have made a creature to rule over mankind. This is the final battle.
Ported to Dreamcast from arcades, what was it called again?
Hydro Thunder!
Hydro Thunder is a boat racing game where all the boats look like they copied Wipeout's homework when it wasn't looking. I was initially really unimpressed by it because those menus are not good at all, but it turns out that Hydro Thunder is actually really good fun. Collect boost, race around diverse courses with plenty of dynamic set dressing, and then use your boost to smash into fellow racers and yeet big stationary boats out of the way. Oh no, this one's trying to race me now.
You're not in the race! No, back off, this isn't fair!
It's colourful, fun, and has plenty of variety. It definitely feels like an arcade game, but hey, that's not always a bad thing. Hydro Thunder earned an average of 82% based on the reviews listed on Wikipedia. Goodness me, this flashback's a bit haunting. Do you want me to call someone?
Yeah, who's your emergency contact, love?
I think he might murder someone. Monaco Grand Prix is an unlicensed Formula 1 game with far more interesting and recognisable tracks from across the world than were featured in Flag to Flag, even though, again, no licence. Menus are annoying though, especially as there's one constantly repeated sound effect. Can you hear it? Am I going insane? Weirdly, there's no map in this game, making it very difficult to prep for corners, but I adapted anyway.
This is legal, yeah?
Needless to say, I was a very welcome addition to the field. But I'll be damned if I'll ever understand what they were thinking with the music on the Monaco course. It sounded like bloody Sephiroth was about to attack. All in all, a very competent racer and far more enjoyable than its launch lineup starting grid rival. 71% on game rankings.
Jesus, oh god, please stop! In what universe is this considered novice difficulty?
An updated version of MK4, Mortal Kombat Gold included additional characters, stages, and a weapon selection mechanic. However, none of these features were enough to save it from what can kindly be considered something of a critical mauling. Criticism was leveled at the graphical fidelity, dullness of available weapons, bugs, and game-breaking glitches. I didn't experience any in my time with it, but that might be because a revised version of Mortal Kombat Gold was released about a month later and aimed to fix a lot of these issues. It all went a bit wrong then, including a misprint in the official strategy guide regarding the additional characters that only served to confuse fans. I can't even show you a cool fatality because I'm rubbish at Mortal Kombat, but I did win a skull trophy with eyes, so that's lovely. 54.97% on game rankings, with GameSpot saying, sitting down and playing MK Gold almost feels like a retro gaming experience. Ouch. Oh yeah, here we go, sports time! I've played an American football game before. This is a whole other universe of confusing. But I've never watched American football, so I'm going to give this everything I've got.
As we roll the calendar over to the big 2000, people around the world are raising questions about what the next millennium will have in store.
Here come the 69ers, baby! Get a load of these big action figure players. Absolute units, a lot of them, especially when stood next to the cardboard cutout coaches and photographers.
Are you ready for Dr. D?
No thank you. Flattered though. The sports charts are at the top of the screen this time, and while I'm still hopeless at defense, I'm getting surprisingly good at offense. I mean, I don't know a lot about American football, but I'd consider this a good play, right? Right, guys? Let me know. It's a shame the opposition can magnetically stick to you when tackling, as I was definitely past that guy, but never mind. Critics went absolutely bonkers for NFL 2K, awarding it an eye-watering 92% on game rankings. Well done, guys. Oh yeah, here we go, sports time! I've played an American football game before. I've played an American football game, but I've never watched American football, so I'm going to give this everything I've got. Really? Another one? One wasn't enough? Christ, am I going to get a gun? I was not good at NFL Blitz 2000. I was constantly tackled as soon as I got the ball, preventing me from making any meaningful progression across the field, and I rarely had time to pass to teammates who, themselves, were never in uncontested space. Defending then, in a strange inversion of my usual experience with American football games, was much more fun. As there are no rules, you could tackle pretty much at will, diving all over the place and leaping through players like you're playing Dynasty Warriors with shoulder pads. It was also one of the less enjoyable sports chart systems I've experienced so far, but what do I know, because it got 82% on game rankings and I'm clearly an idiot. What is going on? Well, it's all in Japanese, so God knows what I'm selecting here, but... I'm sorry, one more time for me? Ah, I see, thank you very much. I take it all back, this is the best video game I've ever played. Essentially 1998's answer to Fall Guys, PenPen TRiIceLon is a triathlon across various icy stages where your chosen PenPen must slide, run, and swim their way to victory. Obviously, I was playing as our very own Billy Ray Walrus.
Yeah, I probably could have been a lot better parent.
And say what you want about his country music, he's very good at athletics, and I'm extremely proud of him. If you can imagine the PenPen as humans in mascot costumes, it's a Japanese game show then, allowing you to attack your competitors to further your lead. It received just 64% on game rankings, but PenPen TRiIceLon has definitely won a place in my heart.
Seek the world for fortune, glory, and a legendary treasure, which has the power to make dreams come true.
Well, that voiceover doesn't get me hugely excited. A 3D arena fighting game, Powerstone is fast, frantic, and largely quite good fun. It's set in the 19th century and follows the globe-trotting, but mostly fighting, adventures of various individuals who all seek the Power Stone, a stone that will supposedly make any dream come true. It's all quite stylish, with fighters automatically rolling over obstacles and plenty of crates and objects to destroy that'll provide you with various weapons, including rocket launchers and guns! See, I'm the best fighter. If you collect enough gems, or maybe stones, I'm not sure what they are, but in any case, if you collect enough, you'll transform into a more powerful version of yourself and be able to deal much more damage for a short time. 83% according to game rankings, and it performed so well in arcades that it even had a brief run as an anime in 1999. So there you are. Oh yeah, here we go, sports time! I've played a boxing game before. Repeatedly hit a me in the face until it gets brain damage and collapses. But I've never watched boxing, so I'm going to give this everything I've got.
Let's get ready to rumble!
That's it, pack it all up, we've hit peak 90s everyone, peak 90s. Ready to Rumble Boxing is unsurprisingly a boxing game, and they've got the guy. You know, the guy who says the thing.
Let's get ready to rumble!
I obviously had to choose the 108-year-old Big Willie Johnson, and I got absolutely destroyed. Poor guy. I was particularly impressed by the way they've animated the stomach, chest, and arms independently. It does make them look a bit like action figures, but it's more realistic than having the bodies be one single amorphous blob. You can dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge to avoid strikes, and if you build up your rumble meter enough, can even be a super powerful boy for a brief second. It's especially fun when you both do this at the same time. There's also a championship mode where you can train your fighters, earn money, and compete for titles. A decent enough, larger-than-life boxing sim then, with the Dreamcast version earning 84% on game rankings.
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land that you understand.
The first main Sonic game to feature full 3D gameplay, Sonic Adventure was a smash with fans and critics alike. It even had hub areas where you could run around and chat to passers-by. It may look a little basic now, but remember, this was before the likes of GTA 3 revolutionized sandbox gaming, and it blew people's tiny 1998 brains. Ignoring the fact that Robotnik just warned him about the god of destruction and now he's having a nap by the pool, Sonic transitions to 3D quite impressively. Collect rings and power-ups, jump off bounce pads and enemies' heads, and hit special set pieces that really take advantage of the Dreamcast's hardware. These factors all culminate in an impressive collage of speed and colour, and even though the cutscenes feel very stilted and there were a few times I got caught on pieces of scenery losing all of my speed, it's still really good fun. It may well be an affront to God that Sonic lives in a human world and can get on a train like a person can, but Sonic Adventures was a new high for the series, clocking 87% on game rankings. Cited as reason enough to own a Dreamcast, the home console version of this arcade classic is by a sizable margin the most critically renowned launch game for Sega's console, achieving a staggering 97% according to game rankings. Now I'm terrible at fighting games. I'm in awe of people who can play them with any degree of precision, which I believe makes me according to this, a button masher, maybe? I don't know. Either way, I really enjoyed playing Soulcalibur. It felt balanced to my level of playing ability and yet was still intuitive enough for me to pull off cool looking moves whenever I wanted. Not that one. See? This might be because the team worked closely with Namco's Tekken devs on the home console port, but they went one step further, as a big point in the Dreamcast version of Soulcalibur's favour was its visuals, which were, in a rare reversal of the norm, superior to the arcade build. I like that you can keep hitting people after you win, though. I got me a Soul Edge sword by making Nightmare look a right chump, and apparently then set sail to terrorise pirates. Beautiful. Well, I've got to race in the Girth 2000, haven't I? TNN Motorsports Hardcore Heat is a racing game that attempts to complete the Dreamcast's launch lineup of racing titles by specialising in off-road racing, with mixed success. My main issues were that while it controls all right, it's really hard to turn at any great speed, as if you're constantly stuck in the mud with no hope of a tow. This is especially troubling as, according to Wikipedia, the known control issues were mostly fixed for the American release, begging the question, what on earth were they like before? It's quite by the book, sadly, with nothing really standing out and Next Generation suggesting players rent it if they can't wait for Sega Rally 2. 49% according to an average of the reviews I could find online. Blimey, they just love to band the radical word extreme around with the letter X and no E, don't they? If there's one thing Tokyo Extreme Racer is not, however, it's extreme. Yes, it's a competent enough racer where you become intimately familiar with a stretch of Tokyo highway. Yes, it was apparently one of the first mission-based driving games, but no, it is not extreme. Okay, you pick a car, drive around Tokyo's Shuto Expressway and start races with fellow naughty crime boys and girls. There's a bar at the top of the screen that will drain as long as you're in second place, so you must lead the race, overtaking and weaving through traffic until your opponent's bar is empty, at which point you win. Winnings can be spent on new cars and tuning your existing vehicles to ensure street racing success, but this was clearly the early days of racing with a mission, so don't expect a story presence here. 72% on game rankings. TrickStyle is in essence Tony Hawk's Pro Skater but with hoverboards and you're racing one another. So downhill jam then. Developed by Criterion, you know, the Burnout people. You start by entering your name, and if you can't tell by the crazy way those letters move, this game is Xtreme with an X. You can pick from one of several characters, and then in you hop to begin racing. It is quite hard to control. Corners are tight and the steering isn't nearly responsive enough for you to react in time. I'd be laying down to get more speed, but then be locked into that animation while bumping into what I was desperately attempting to jump over. It does have impressive levels of rubber banding though, with AI all too happy to speed off initially, but they'll let you overtake them all when nearing the end of a race. How sweet. Is it gonna let me jump through Big Ben's big stupid face? Oh, okay. 71% on game rankings, with Next Gen calling it an impressive game to watch and an infuriating game to play. Track design is sadistic and AI players are inhumanly adept. Good, mostly for increasing your stress level. And that 71% takes the average score for the Dreamcast's launch lineup to 74%. And there we have it, all of the Dreamcast's US launch lineup sort of reviewed in 2020. Were there any among them that were your favourites? Please let me know in the comments below. Why not follow me on Twitter in order to keep up to date with more of these launch game videos, and like the video and subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Bye!